Just prior to my most recent dive trip, I acquired this bad boy. I'm very excited to step into the world of a mirrorless camera system, underwater housing with a big wide-angle lens. I knew on this trip though, I wanted to visit some sites that would really put this lens through its paces, give me that cinematic footage that I was looking for underwater. And so a couple of sites that I thought of, the only way to get there would be on a boat. So today we're going to talk a little bit about diving from a boat. What are the advantages? What are the differences? What do you need to know? And we'll introduce you to the 2 dive sites and some of the footage that we shot using this brilliant new camera system. Welcome to Everything Scuba. Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome to Everything Scuba. I am Lyell, and if you are a first-time viewer to our channel, welcome. We're glad you found us. We are here talking about, well, everything related to the world of scuba diving. So if you love to scuba dive into Everything Scuba by hitting that subscribe button down below. We'd love to have you join us for weekly episodes. As I said in my introduction, prior to my most recent dive trip, I acquired a new camera system. And I've always been a compact camera shooter in the past. I loved it. I've been blown away with what a compact camera can do. But I wanted to take that next evolutionary leap into the world of a mirrorless system with interchangeable lenses, housing, arms and lights for video and for photography. And in fact, in the upcoming months, we're going to bring you a variety of episodes looking at all of the different components of that system and what it can do in terms of wide angle, macro photography, and videography for underwater shooting. And so stick around for those. But in this episode, there's a couple particular dive sites that I wanted to go visit on St. Croix, and they're on the west end. And the best way for me to get there was to dive from a boat. If you're like a lot of divers, you may have learned to dive on a resort where you walked in from the beach and you're shore diving. If you're a Midwestern diver like me, maybe you learned to dive in a lake or a quarry. And so diving on a boat or from a boat is kind of an alien thing. And there's definitely a particular etiquette to diving from a boat. You don't want to show up and be that diver who really has no concept of what they're doing when it gets to boat diving. I'm going to introduce you to a company called St. Croix Ultimate Bluewater Adventures, otherwise known as Scuba on St. Croix. They are a great company. They have 2 dive boats, a larger boat that services the North Shore, and the boat that we're going to be diving from today, Scuba Dose, which services usually the west side of St. Croix. 2 crew on board today, Captain Corey Harner, who has an interesting nickname. If you're ever diving with him, ask him about it off camera, obviously. And Instructor Chris, who will lead the dives. While on board a dive boat, you're going to meet several different individuals and positions on that boat. And I'm going to let Captain Corey tell you about the different people that you might encounter that work on that dive boat. You're a captain.
Yes, sir.
How do you get to be a captain?
Experience and testing. The funny part about the captain's license is they can teach you everything about the license itself, but they don't really teach you how to drive the boat. So experience on the boat that you'd like to drive definitely does help.
Okay.
I have 3 years experience on crewing this boat as an instructor, as a dive master. So I became very, very familiar. And then as the course presented itself, I took the course, passed it, and an opportunity presented itself to where the old captain was transitioning out, and I stepped in to fill his shoes. Chris is also one of our instructors acting as a dive master today.
Okay,
yep.
So typically you're going to find a captain, a dive master, plus maybe an instructor.
If we have courses going on, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
We'll have a dive master who will do the tour for the certified divers.
Okay.
And then sometimes if we have a Discover Scuba Divers, open water course, like Aaron just got certified yesterday, which was awesome, advanced open water course or whatever. But yeah, we'll have dive masters and or instructors on the boat.
Okay. Meeting and getting on the boat. First, make sure you're on time. The boat runs on a schedule. There are other divers there who are going to be standing around waiting for you, or they maybe won't wait for you unless you're on time. Always be a little bit ahead of time. Normally you're going to check in with the shop, get all your paperwork signed, and get ready to get on the boat. I try to keep my gear minimal and in fact contained in 2 bags. One, a dry bag that's obviously going to contain a towel, somewhere I can put my phone to make sure it stays dry on the trip, and a wet bag. The wet bag is going to contain obviously all of your dive gear, your regulator, your BCD, your fins, your mask, all the things that you need to go diving that can just drip out of that mesh bag when you're all done. If you're renting your gear from the company, many times that's already going to be on board, maybe even set up already for you. That's just what those guys do. Prior to getting on the boat, wait to be asked to get on the boat. Usually the captain, dive master, or instructor, they're busy preparing the boat, getting everything set up and ready for divers to come on board. Wait for them to ask you. Many times, boat dives, they're going to set up a shoe bag for you on the dock. And that's for you to take off your shoes, put it in that bag. They'll keep them all safe, but then you're stepping onto a nice, clean boat with bare feet. You're going to take your 2 bags. Many times you'll hand those to them. They'll help you onto the boat, and they'll help get you to your position. Most typically, morning or afternoon, you're going to have 2 tank dives. So they're going to position you with 2 tanks. They're already set up in a rack. The racks can be arranged a little bit differently, but they're going to get you to your station. And what we want to try and do is when we unpack our gears, we want to maintain all of our gear in that station and not spread ourselves out too much to take up space that other divers need. Our dry bag is going to go up usually in the front part of the boat, close to probably where the captain is working, and it's an area where you can make sure that it stays nice and dry.
All right, guys, so a little boat pro tip for us. If we have 2 divers next to one another here, pick the starting tank as the same tank on the same side so that we are like left, and then we shift right and right. That way, he's not to the right and I'm to the left and we're crowding each other, rather we're nice and separated apart. Great way to start.
Cool. What you're going to find is once you're on, all the divers are on board and gear's arranged, prior to even leaving the dock, the captain is going to give you a briefing that will talk about the specifics of the boat and its safety equipment and what is expected of you when you are on board. I'm going to let Captain Corey tell you all about that.
So safety is first and foremost paramount. So as soon as we get people on the boat and before we take off from where we're tied up at the pier, we want everybody to know the safety aspects of what the boat actually represents to them. It's not just a dive boat to take them to a dive site. It's a dive boat that has medical supplies, safety supplies in the unlikely event that something does happen. And unfortunately, things do tend to happen. So the normal things that we do have on our boat equipment-wise, we do have an O2 kit, which is always checked. We have a first aid kit, which is always checked. We have flares that are always checked. That's things that we have to have on the boat. We have a life ring. It's always inspected, making sure it still floats in case we have to use it. We always have a Marine VHF radio, which is tuned here in the U.S. territories and the States to channel 16, which is the U.S. Coast Guard. And when you have an EPIRB is a device, if the boat decides to take on water and it continues to take on water, that's going to pop off and release a little spring to send a signal to the Coast Guard saying, hey, there's something bad happening. We need to get there because there's something wrong.
So after that captain briefing, the crew are going to prepare the boat to depart the dock. They'll untie and away we go. On your way out to the dive site, many times divers are getting their gear set up, usually getting dry clothes off, maybe getting wetsuits pulled halfway up or dry suit depending on the climate that you are diving in. And then we're just going to enjoy the ride. The good news about St. Croix is it's not a long distance to get to dive sites. Usually they're within 5 to 10 minutes on the west end. And once you arrive at the dive site, again, you're going to get another briefing. And this briefing typically either is going to be from the captain or from the dive master that's going to be getting in the water with you. Don't be that guy who's too busy chatting on the corner or on his phone to not pay attention, particularly to the briefing that the captain gives before you leave the dock, and 2, the briefing that the dive master or captain will give prior to getting in the water. So let's listen to our first briefing on our first dive site.
The depth of the route right now is about 45 feet. You guys can get down a little bit deeper than that. It does kind of slowly shelf down to some sand at about 95 feet. Really no point to go there. All the dark water that you see right behind me, that's all the thick condensed reef. All the light blue water up in front of us, that's where all the sand is. Stingrays, garden eels, some nurse sharks every once in a while. You guys are going to be diving with Chris. Chris is going to be leading your dive for you. He does go nice and slow. If you see something cool, he'll point out. You obviously have a camera. You have a camera as well. So now you can actually use it truly. You're not certifying yourself. You're certified. So boom, like that.
Getting into the water is a little bit different from a boat than obviously shore diving. You're doing your deep water entry, which during your open water class you probably got to be introduced to. Typically from the backside of a dive boat, it's going to be a giant stride, and we don't want to enter the water looking like this.
You guys, the easiest way that we're going to get off the boat, real simple, guys. You're going to grab your mask and you grab your fins. You're going to sit right here, facing the water. You're going to put your fins on, you're going to put your mask on. You're going to let me know what gear is yours. I'm going to grab your gear, bring it, and set it directly behind you. You guys get into your shoulder straps, get everything clipped away. I'm going to stand you up. You're going to inflate your BCD, palm over right, fingers over mask, that giant stride, look straight out, step right off the boat. Once you guys are in the water, you're going to hang on to the green portion of that line until Chris says, hey guys, gives you the okay, gives you the thumbs down. Again, take all the time you guys need to equalize before you go down, okay?
Now we've arrived at our first dive site. It's called Tide Bottle, and the name is derived from the fact that the mooring there actually used to be a detergent Tide bottle, and so that's how the dive site got its name. Let's check out some of the footage from that site. Would one of you guys do me a favor? Let me know in the comments below what kind of critter makes these sand pyramids exactly. You can see here the boat is tied off to a mooring line, and there's a pin that actually is driven into the reef or rock base. Once you're back on board, we're going to have a surface interval, typically 30-45 minutes depending on the depth and length of that dive. It also gives the crew some time to either unmoor or pull the anchor up and then take you to the next dive site. As I said, many boats will have refreshments on board, at least cold water. Sometimes they'll have cookies and snacks. They want to make sure that you stay well hydrated and don't have problems during that dive. So here's a question for you seasoned boat divers out there. For those divers who are inexperienced or maybe have never been boat diving, what tips and tricks do you have about how did you overcome some of your fears, your concerns, or questions you had as it related to boat diving? Leave me some comments down below. We love bringing this video content to you guys. Hopefully you're getting some good out of it. If you are, go ahead and hit that like button down below. If you're not a subscriber, click the subscribe button while you're at it too. Feel free to share this video with other scuba divers. They might hopefully get some tips from it just as you are. So far so good. We had a great time visiting our first dive site, Tide Bottle. We're going to move on after our surface interval and visit the next dive site, which has a pretty ominous sounding name. I'm a little nervous. I've never been to this dive site before. If you want to check that dive site out, click the link up above to go see it.